flexibility, core, explosive, balance. After consuming Atla, like it's a post-workout protein shake, I found something new that I think is kind of cool. So the 4 styles of bending not only represent 4 different styles of fighting, but they can also represent 4 different facets of fitness. Here's how waterbending can be likened to flexibility. Flexibility is defined as the ability to move a joint or series of joints through a full range of motion without pain. If this doesn't describe waterbending, the style that waterbenders move in demonstrates complete control of the body. Flexibility involves elasticity and the ability to perform complex movements, just like a waterbender. 3 different types of stretching, so to speak. There's a standard static stretching, which is basically where you hold a certain position for 30 to 60 seconds, as you see right here. And this is kind of like how waterbenders heal. It takes holding a certain position and effort/concentration for a specific amount of time. In harmony with that, there's active stretching, which is basically where you're contracting a muscle for a certain amount of time and releasing, as you see right here. This involves contracting one of your muscles, your agonist, as a way to stretch an opposite muscle, the antagonist. In simplest terms, just contracting a muscle and holding it for 10 to 15 seconds, then releasing, as you see here. Now, just like a waterbender may have to hold a certain attack, hold a certain position, sometimes it's 10 seconds, sometimes it's 15 seconds in the real world, but sometimes in the show, it can be something like Qatar freezing, a certain technique that requires a holding, or something like this.
Like this? If you keep practicing, I'm sure eventually. Hey, I'm bending it already.
And then lastly, there's dynamic stretching, and I'd argue that this is something that's seen most of the time when someone water bends. I sound like such a geek, but I kind of like it. So with dynamic stretching, it involves using force and momentum in order to take the body through a full range of motion, as you see right here. And this is a movement for most waterbenders. They move in a full range of motion like an airbender, but they also need the force of a firebender in order to execute their movements. So in the show, flexibility and waterbending is important, but in the real world, here's why flexibility is so important. Injury prevention. Tight muscles are prone to tears and strains when suddenly stretched. So maintaining flexibility reduces the risk of any injury. In harmony with that, there's improved athletic performance. So a good range of motion allows for more efficient movements in sports, leading to better performance. Better daily functioning, simple tasks like reaching, bending, climbing stairs become easier with increased flexibility. Reduce muscle tension and pain. So stretching helps release tension in our bodies, muscles, and it can alleviate pain and discomfort. Improve posture, which I have my thoughts on. Proper flexibility can help maintain quote-unquote good posture by allowing muscles to support the spine correctly under certain circumstances and conditions. However, I'm not a stickler when it comes to good and bad posture. I don't really think any posture is good or bad, so to speak. I think it just depends on which position is helpful or necessary, just my opinion. And then the second part is enhanced balance and coordination. Good flexibility contributes to better stability and control of your body movements, especially when it comes to core training. We'll get back to that later. So this doesn't mean that we have to spend like days stretching, but it's more important just to spend at least a couple minutes performing dynamic stretching before a workout. That way you can minimize any injuries, and that way you can warm up your body for the type of movements that are about to take place. In harmony with being physically flexible, waterbending initially was shown to have a rigid mindset in book 1, especially when it got to the end of season 1.
You are an excellent waterbender.
But you still won't teach me, will you?
No.
Thanks to Aang and Katara, they were able to change the mindset of a rigid teacher, Paku, who didn't want to teach Katara or teach any woman how to fight, and they were able to allow him to be more flexible. So they taught him to lighten up a bit, and he's pretty much cool with everyone except Sokka.
Welcome to the family, Gramp.
You can still just call me Paku.
How about Grandpaku?
No.
Also, this is a cool concept. I thought it'd be cool talking about it, but we mentioned how flexibility is important when it comes to stability. And speaking of stability, that leads to core training, and you can see where this is going. So in the next episode, we'll talk about how book 2, or how earthbending, is pretty realistic to core training in real life. So that's pretty much it. I had a lot of fun talking about this. We'll talk about book 2 and why core training is important. And as always, remember, this is a personal trainer just geeking out about fandoms. Take everything I say as a gram of protein. I like that outro.